What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Mean Streets. Chris Meaney here of FTN Fantasy. You can follow all my work at FTN Fantasy and follow me at Chris Meaney. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comment section here. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening on iTunes and Spotify, hop on over to our YouTube page, subscribe, because Dangle Betselli will be returning this year for another season with myself and Eric Young, but it will be video only. Some of these videos I'm doing, I put under the Dangle Betselli playlist, also the Mean Streets playlist. I'm uploading these to Mean Streets. But if you want, to hang out with us on Tuesdays and Thursdays, you'll have to do so on our YouTube page. So another season, Dangle Betselli. The description of this video, we have the Fantasy Hockey Draft Kit, which is live over at FTN Fantasy. Sleepers, undervalued targets, breakouts, busts, fantasy hockey team names, the NHL betting guide, which I roll through every single team, the additions, the subtractions, players to target, bets to make with those teams, my favorite win totals, Stanley Cup futures, division odds, playoff squads, future player props. It's all there for you over at FTN Fantasy. Again, I have a link inside the description of this video. So if you like this video, simple. Smash that like button. Check out the undervalued and the sleepers as well. So I have 10 breakout candidates here, and I have a lot of shares of these players in fantasy hockey drafts. And by the way, the rankings will be updated throughout the season, and we'll have some waiver wire articles for you over at ftnfantasy.com. So here are 10 breakouts to target in your fantasy hockey drafts. So I had up at the top, my first one was Owen Tippett. And I'm like, he kind of broke out. Maybe I shouldn't have him as like a breakout candidate. But I wanted to bring him up with you guys because I think that he could put himself into like round 2 of drafts next year. I think he's a great target in round 4. He's been going round 4 best ball. He's going much later. I did a draft on Yahoo last night where he was just hanging around round 6. I'm like, I got to do it. Like, I could see the ADP, and I'm like, Yahoo ADP. It's pretty low here. It's a lot lower than where it should be. Maybe, people will don't let ADP be everything. But when you see a player buried, like this time last year, Forsberg, Yahoo had Forsberg as like a 10th round pick. This guy was like a top 30 skater for me. I wasn't afraid to reach a little bit there, but players like that are kind of buried. So that's why I'd say check out the undervalued and the sleepers videos, because I have some of those players highlighted as well. But Tippett, I think, has 40 goal upside, 27 goals in 2022, found the back of the net 28 times last year. That he has over 500 shots on goal in the last 2 seasons to go along with 250 plus hits. So he touches a lot of categories, and I think the Flyers top 6 can be a little bit better there with the addition of Mitchkov, and a potential breakout here from Morgan Frost, and Tyson Forster is another guy that I really like. So Slafkovsky, Juraj Slafkovsky, 4 goals and 10 points in 39 games as a rookie. I wasn't ready to write him off, but I was like, my goodness, kind of wish the Habs took a stronger look at Logan Cooley. Was ever wrong about Slafkovsky because, you can make the case that he already broke out 20 goals, 30 assists in 82 games last year. But I think he has 30 goal upside. I think he actually has 40 goal upside in the future with the Canadiens. He went from 12 minutes per game to 18 minutes per game, found himself on the Canadiens' top line midway through the season and on their top power play. In the second half, the former first overall pick scored he registered 30 points in 33 games. He was a point-per-game player in the second half of the season last year, and that line was one of the better lines in hockey with Cole Caulfield and Nick Suzuki. He averaged 19.35 per game. 19.35 per game. He was leaned on heavily. He was shooting the puck. He was throwing his body around. He found instant chemistry with Suzuki and Cole Caulfield, and credit to St. Louis for putting him on that top line. His playmaking abilities were on full display as well. He's a good passer, and he's got a heck of a shot, and he's just a kid. He's growing here. So he is my favorite Hab to draft, him and Matheson. I'm actually fading Cole Caulfield in drafts. I think he's going slightly early. I think that Slafkovsky will have a better fantasy season than Cole Caulfield. And if you're playing in leagues with hits, you're going to see that from Slafkovsky. Alexis Lafreniere, right? I already broke out. Sure, you can make the case for that, right? He scored a career high 28 goals, 57 points in 82 games, but there's more. There's more to his game. He had 8 goals and 14 points in 16 playoff games. That's where, when I was watching the Rangers in the playoffs, and that's where I was like, okay, Alexis Lafreniere is here, right? Former first overall pick. Rangers fans have been waiting for him to get going. He's a stud. It just took a little bit of time. The line of Trocheck and Panarin and Lafreniere are one of the best 5-and-5 units in all of hockey. They're going to continue to be together this year. The only downside is he's not going to be on that first power play. It's hard to fit him in. How do you fit him in when you have Mika and Kreider and you have Trocheck? It's hard to fit him in on that top power play. But at the same time, you like to see the production at 5-5, or a majority of his production came at 5-5. It's very encouraging to see. But in the playoffs, at times, I thought he was the best Ranger player. And it wasn't even close in some of those games. He was making things happen. He was shooting the puck. He was throwing his body around. Like I said, I think there's more room for him to grow. I think he 35 goals. I think he can get to 35 goals, 65 points, and maybe be a 70-point player in the future. So Uri Slafkovsky and Alexis Lafreniere are two guys that I have a lot of shares of. They're kind of going side by side. And I've been taking them in drafts. Dylan Guenther, I almost have 100% exposure to. Dylan Guenther and JJ Peterka, two guys that I've been drafting everywhere that I can. I'll have to force myself to stop taking them in best ball drafts because you can't be that invested. Injuries happen and things happen. You could be wrong about certain players. Dylan Guenther, down the stretch on Dangle Bet selling Mean Streets, we were all over him in terms of his shot prop and point prop. He had 18 goals and 35 points in 45 games as a sophomore. His shooting percentage was at 14.9%, which may be a touch high, but it's not super high. I think he can push 30 goals here. Another season in the NHL, found himself on the top power play, which should be the case this season. The power play should be better with the addition of Mikhail Sergachev. Love Sergachev too in drafts this year. I have a lot of shares of him. Yahoo's got him ranked too low. Best Ball has him ranked too low. I think he's a top 10 fantasy hockey defenseman. And there was chemistry there with him and Logan Cooley. These guys are going to be fan favorites in Utah for years to come. They were great together last season. I expect them to play 5-5 this year. So Dylan Guenther is a guy that I really want to have in drafts. Volume shooter. Love that. And Peterka, another player that I have a ton of shares of. And they've been going around pick 115, 120, right? Been taking them back to back in drafts. He had a mini breakout last season, 28 goals, 50 points through 82 games, moved up on the top line with Tage Thompson and Alex Tuck. Jeff Skinner was struggling, and Skinner's now in Edmonton. So I think he should stay inside the top 6. I think he should be playing with Tage Thompson and Alex Tuck, should get top power play time as well. He racked up 226 shots last year, went from 13 minutes to 21 minutes per game from October to April. So a massive boost in terms of usage and ice time. And like the players he's going to play with, I think the power play is going to be decent, and he should be on it. JJ Peterka, a top target for me. Logan Cooley's on the list as well. Again, the connection between him and Dylan Guenther, I think we'll see the breakout. Try to avoid, sophomore players that kind of struggle as a rookie, but did put Logan Cooley and Leo Carlsson in here as well. When I was talking about, undervalued players or sleeper players, I would mention Gauthier. I think that Gauthier and Leo Carlsson, like Cooley and Guenther, get excited. This is a duo that they both should be great. Not as early as this season, but for years to come in Anaheim and Carlson, the minute restriction, you shouldn't be rested in certain games. You should be able to play as long as he's healthy a majority of the hockey this season that Anaheim does play. And him and Gauthier, I'm very interested in those two. And Cooley and Guenther, I'm very interested in those two as well. The next guy on this list, Tommy Novak. Eric Young should be proud of this list, this name at least. Tommy, he's always talking about Tommy Novak, but good player, sneaky good over his last 2 seasons. And now we got the arrival of Steven Stamkos and Jonathan Marchessault. So he should be able to take another step. I mean, he's got 17 and 18 goals over the past 2 seasons. He's fresh off a career high 45 points. He's going to lose some time on the top power play. I mean, that's expected. And, I even expect a bounce back, or I think, a bit of a hit anyways, like kind of a bust in Nyquist. I think he'll be fine. We can still attack his point props. And, I just feel like the Preds were kind of a one-line team last year with O'Reilly and Forsberg and Nyquist, and I expect that trio to stay together. But now you add Stamkos, and now you add Marchessault. You have to imagine that those 2 players are going to be on the first power play. So Nyquist will probably lose his power play time, and they put Stamkos and they put Marchessault there. They load up that top unit with Forsberg and O'Reilly and Yossi. So Novak, while he'll lose some power play time, he gains two really big time winners who can score goals. And I think Stamkos takes a bit of a step back too, but I'm comfortable drafting him. But you lose Kucherov and you lose Point. The power play won't be as lethal in Nashville as it was in Tampa. But Novak, yeah, he's a target for me. And Morgan Frost, right? This is Morgan Frost he's a top pick. He's got skill, man. He's got talent. Tortorella will bench a guy, and you don't feel like you're surprised. And the usage was kind of surprising at times with some of these Fire players, and you feel, oh man, Farabey's great, and all of a sudden he's on the third line, fourth line, Forrester, and then scratch and whatnot. But for Morgan Frost in 2022, he had 19 goals and 46 points in 81 games. He played 16-21. Now the Flyers are a little bit better inside their top six. I could see like a Frost, Michkov, Tippett line, right? I could see, if they want to put Michkov up with Couturier and put Konechny on the second line, he just should have good wingers to play with. He's not a big time volume shooter. He's not going to throw his body around too much. And the power play time, although I think the skill set is there for him to get top power play time, he could fall into the second unit. I think that's certainly possible. But this guy's got 25 goal upside. I think he can live in the 55, 60 point range here this year. So I expect a breakout from Morgan Frost. I like Tyson Forrester as an undervalued / sleeper target. Michkov's going to score a lot of goals. Tippett's going to score a lot of goals. So these guys are going to be in on some of the production in Philadelphia. The other guy here is Jake Sanderson. Jake Sanderson, Thomas Chabot has just not been able to stay healthy over the course of his career. Like that's just, it's a thing. Unfortunately for him, it's just, he's piled up some injuries. And now with Chychrun gone, I think that we could see the breakout here in year number 3 for Jake Sanderson. Career high 10 goals, tied his career high in assists in 28, but had a career high 38 points. He had 139 blocks, which wasn't a career high, but 147 the year before, and then 158 shots. So down the stretch of last season, if you look at the game log, like there were some 27 minutes, 25 minutes, like he was just a horse on the blue line. In October, he averaged 23 minutes. In November, 24. In December 23, then there was a couple 21s, but then at the end of the season, 24 and 24. So I could see him 23, 24 minutes a game, him and Chabot getting all the minutes they can handle. And I think just with the loss and the departure of Chychrun, we could maybe see the full breakout for Jake Sanderson. The ice time is going to be there. The shots and the blocks will pile up. And so will the power play points. He had 14 power play points, but he should now be the guy in the first unit. At times it was him. At times it was Chabot. At times it was Chychrun. I'd say Jake Sanderson has an opportunity to be the guy on that power play, which wasn't great last year. I mean, Stützle, I think he had 1 power play goal. The power play should be better. Maybe Stützle, right, gets back in, like puck luck kind of goes his way. I think he's not as bad as last year, not as good as 2 years ago. He kind of lives somewhere in the middle. But the power play, having the first power play unit and all that ice time, freeing him up with Chychrun, I think is a big win for him. So he's on this list. And then we'll wrap up with a goalie. Been doing a defenseman and a goalie for the sleeper and the undervalued videos. Is Kochetkov. So, Anderson's going ahead of him in drafts. Kochetkov's going ahead of Anderson in best ball, but Yahoo has Anderson ranked higher in the ADP is Anderson. I just don't fully believe that Anderson can stay healthy. Like there's no reason for me to think that he can at this point of his career. He played 16 games last year. Great. In those 16 games, he was 13-2. He had a 1.84 goals against average and a 932 save percentage, 3 shutouts. When this guy's healthy, he's a stud. But 16 games, 34 the year before, 52 in Carolina, in Toronto, 24, 52. So it's been 3 of the last 4 years has been sub 35 games. And I think if you're Rod Brendamore, you can't push him. You can't just like play him on back-to-backs. You can't play him all the time. You're going to have to mix things up. I think the duo of Kochetkov and Anderson is an interesting duo to target, probably better than the Toronto duo to target when I was talking about Stolars in another video. But I think that Kochetkov is here. Like it's his net now. Last year, career high, 42 games, 40 starts, a 2.33 goals against average. He had 4 shutouts and 911 save percentage. He was 23-13-4. Carolina's lost a little bit up front, but they're still going to be fine defensively. Orlov, Walker, they're still going to be decent defensively. Brady Shea is gone. Teuvo Teravainen is gone. They weren't able to bring back Gensel. So offensively, they might not score a ton of goals, but they're still going to be a puck possession squad. The defense is still very, very strong. So I like Kochetkov to break out to like maybe flirt with 55 games, maybe give you 30 wins, right? So I think I think his price is fair in best ball going ahead of Anderson. I think there's a case to be made taking a flyer Anderson late in best ball. But if I'm doing a big money league, redraft league, give me Kochetkov over Anderson, right? At this point of Anderson's career, I think we'll see more of Kochetkov, excuse me, as a top pick. Again, a second round pick, and he's got 8 shutouts over the last 2 years. You know, the brand of hockey that Carolina plays as well, pretty stingy. So that's where I'm at. Whew. All right. Actually did all these videos in one, broke them up, sleepers, undervalued, and breakouts. Links inside the description of this video. If you want more targets, I got an undervalued video. I got a sleeper video. I got the fantasy hockey draft kit. The link inside the description of this video as well. Busts, some of my targets, betting futures, fantasy hockey rankings, and they will be updated throughout the entire season. Everything is absolutely free. If you have any questions, reach out at Chris Meaney, meanstreetsftn@gmail.com. Make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube page because we will have some Dangle Bet Silly videos in the future. Going to do a live best ball draft and another draft as well, and we'll have a predictions video. So appreciate you guys taking the time to hang out. We will chat to you guys soon. Have a good one. Cheers.